This is part 2 of how to weave conundrum weave. So in the previous video, I showed you how to create helm. So to make conundrum, you need a bunch of strips of helm. And then what we're going to do is we are going to link these together. So you want to make sure your rubber rings are offset like this. And then to connect them together, we're using our medium-sized jump rings. In the previous video, we didn't use any of the medium-sized rings to create our helm strips. These are strictly used to create conundrum when we connect our strips together. So to start, we're going to pick up one of our strips of helm. We're weaving through the rubber rings and just through the rubber rings. We're not picking up any of the other aluminum. And then we're going to go through another set of rubber rings like so. And then we're going to go through this first set of rubber rings again. But this time we are picking up the second unit in our second row, like this. So our medium rings end up creating these little V shapes throughout the entire weave. So now we're going to move on to our second unit in the first row. Take one of our medium rings. We're going to go through the second unit in the first row and through the second unit in the second row. And then we're going back to the second unit, weaving through the orange, and then we're going through the rubber rings in the third unit of the second row. And we're just going to keep doing that the entire length of our chain. So moving on to the third unit in our first row, weaving through the third unit in the second row. Going back to our third unit in the first row, and then weaving through the fourth unit in our secondary row. So now we're moving on to this fourth unit. So you're connecting your rows together, but it's on the diagonal, because all your rubber rings are offset from each other. So now we're going to go through the green rings and then through the blue. So now we're starting with our fifth unit, going through the blue in our second row, and then we're going to go through the blue and through the light blue. So always on the diagonal, you're connecting your rows of helm together. And your medium-sized rings create these little V shapes throughout the entire weave. And you're just going to keep doing that until you get to the end of your row. One other thing I wanted to show you guys also is how to weave helm into itself. So like when I made my purse, each row of helm is 40 units, 40 rubber rings long, and then I wove the strip into itself. and then layered each row like this, so I got that diagonal pattern. So to weave helm into itself, you need to have a strip like this that just has 2 rubber rings on either end. So then when you weave it together, I'm gonna go through 1 pair of rubber rings at the end, loop it around, and pick up your other set of rings at the other end. And then again, we need to double that small ring. And then our large ring is going to go in between the rubber rings and orbit the small rings. And so this is what I did for my purse. I made loops like this that were 40 rings, 40 rubber rings long. And then once I had them connected like this, I stacked them and connected them together on the diagonal to create conundrum weave. So yeah, that is how you make conundrum. Happy weaving!